Yeah. Okay, we're live. All right, what's up, everybody, man? Welcome back. Dude, that looks so weird dancing. So, welcome back, everybody. This is a special live stream for my Patreon for September 19, 2019. Man, we here got 6 people watching. Holy shit! Welcome back. Let me pop out the chat. Oh, it feels so good to be back on YouTube because I was live streaming on Twitch and I was out of my comfort zone. You know what I'm saying? Now I'm back on YouTube. I know what's up. I know where to click. Oh shit! People dropped down to 2. What happened? Is it because of my dancing? Be honest. Be honest. Anyway, what's up, everybody? Man, got my boy DJ in the chat. I hope everything is working because I changed a little bit of the things on the stream, but hopefully everything is working. Let me check real fast. I know what's up. Oh yeah, everything's working. So got a lot of things to talk about today. I have some notes. I have 2 new paintings that I have to discuss. I also have a lot of critiques to get to. So it's gonna be a busy. It's gonna be a busy session, man. Look at all that work. Look at all that work. And if you still want me to critique your work, send it on my email, angelganef6@gmail.com. So as always, I want to start with saying thank you so much to my new patrons, Paulius, however you pronounce that, Raza, Tweegy. Thank you to my boy DJ for signing up for the mentorship, and thank you to Tragic is Magic, man. It's been crazy, man. My Patreon finally taking off. I think it's bad. I think it's because of the Discord thing, and now I'm streaming on Twitch and everything. DJ says. You're whack for living when Angel dances. I know, DJ. I'm gonna give you a private dance sometimes. But yeah, I'm on Discord. If you still haven't joined, guys, there's like a private Patreon chat there. You can like talk to each other and all this shit. And I'm also streaming on Twitch every week now. And I kind of want to keep it kind of separate, the Patreon and the Twitch thing, because on Twitch I feel like there's gonna be more people, and I kind of want to be more entertaining and shit. And for Patreon, I really want to provide you with value, because I feel kind of bad, you guys giving me money and I'm over here talking about my dick. But there's gonna be some dick jokes. I can't help that. But anyway, let's get to this week's work though. So I did 2 new pieces. The one that I just finished right now, actually. That's why I'm still in this painting zone, by the way. Like I probably sound weird because like I was just rendering this whole piece for the last probably 6 hours. So I'm just kind of like in this rendering zone. But I kind of wanted to talk about the process because it's been super crazy, and I really got out of my comfort zone with this piece, and I feel like I can provide you with some value. But before that, another piece that I finished that you might have seen on my Instagram, this girl. And it's actually my first painting done on my iPad with a combination with a PC. I agree. You should only really do painting in Twitch than critique. I don't know about Twitch though, but on Patreon I really want it to be more about critiques and less jokes and shit. So anyway, I did this painting, and I really I told you last week I wanted to push myself to draw on the iPad more, because I feel it's like a totally different experience. It kind of pushes you to learn more about different things. All DJ says lovely landscapes. Thank you, buddy. And my process on the iPad is pretty similar to the one in Photoshop. But what's interesting actually is kind of like the brushes that I was using, and I actually wanted to talk about that. So first I kind of start with this basic brush. It's just like a round brush. I don't even know what it's called. It's not that important. The more important one is the ink brush. So the thing is, when I'm working on the iPad, I don't really like painting on the iPad, but I feel like drawing is kind of superior to the drawing tablet. And by the way, a couple of people asked me, actually Joshua asked me, or was it like her friend, his friend, whatever. A couple of people asked me whether they should buy an iPad, and I think it's a great investment, but kind of like somewhere down the line, you know what I'm saying? Like if you're still starting out, I feel like it would just kind of confuse you, because it's it's a totally different medium, you know what I'm saying? Like when I first took the iPad, I was kind of confused as to what's gonna happen, you know what I'm saying? So it's a totally different experience. So I first recommend you to first kind of get good with whatever, whatever you're working on. Actually, if you're working on like a Wacom Cintiq or something, I feel the iPad is gonna be pretty close. But the thing is, I'm working on a Wacom Intuos, right? So it's a graphics tablet, and you can't really see anything. So the iPad is totally different. So anyway, when I'm drawing on the iPad, I feel like I kind of repeat a lot more the lines, and I feel like it's much better for inking. So I'd actually recommend you. Oh, Total Magic is saying, "Yo, hello, buddy. How you doing, man?" I feel like for the iPad is kind of better for drawing, and it's kind of worse for painting, because the thing about painting is you need a lot of space. You kind of need your hand to be moving a lot, and the problem with the iPad is your hand is kind of standing in the way. But it actually works pretty good for the drawing. So that's kind of like why you see me drawing this in kind of a little bit of a different style, because if I was doing this in Photoshop, it would kind of look different. So after that, I kind of like drop the opacity, I do this line art, and the line art doesn't really look that good. Oh, Polius, man, what's up? Can you show your PC brush settings? Of course, buddy. Oh, this is my new patron, man. Let me show you my brush settings. Do you hold your tablet in portrait? You mean portrait like that? No, I actually hold it like a landscape, like that. But when I'm drawing, let me show you. When I'm drawing on the iPad, I'm actually holding it like that. But what's interesting is I'm actually, because I'm so used to kind of drawing with my back straight, and I have some lower back issues. Actually, when I'm drawing on an iPad, let me show you with the camera. I'm actually holding it like, wait, this camera's fucked up. So I'm actually holding it, I'm backing it up on the desk, you know what I'm saying? So I'm actually drawing like that, and I'm backing it up on the desk. And I think that's something that, can be useful to a lot of people, because when you're drawing with your back hunched over, it can actually create a lot of back problems and all this shit. And you can't really go for hours. Like I drove for so long that fucking days go by and shit, and you're gonna end up with a bulged up neck and all this shit. Oh yeah, DJ says I mean the iPad. Yeah, so I usually hold it like that, because I know the pieces that I'm gonna create are gonna be horizontal, because I'm gonna post them on Instagram. So that's why I hold it like that. But if I'm drawing something like that, I'm holding it like that. And by the way, this is a 12-inch iPad or something, and I feel it's a great size. I don't think you should go smaller than that. So if you go for an iPad, go low end. You know what I'm saying? Don't try to be cheap and buy an iPad. That's a bad way to go. Anyway, Polius, that's an interesting name, man. What's up? Can I call you Pol, by the way? I feel like it's gonna be easier. So Polius, Total Magic says, is there no stand for the iPad? Well, I haven't really seen any. Maybe there is. I haven't really researched it, but I think whatever stand it is, it's gonna kind of stand in the way, because it's just gonna be it's gonna hold the iPad in one place. And what I'm kind of looking for is kind of the movement. You know what I'm saying? Because when I'm drawing on the iPad, I want to kind of like hold it with one hand, and with the other I'm drawing kind of like on what you do with paper. But definitely if you're a fan of drawing with paper, I feel like the iPad is a closer experience than a graphic tablet. So if you're actually like better in traditional drawing, I feel like you're gonna be better with the iPad. So back to the brushes though. By the way, I love that you guys are asking questions, man. Hit me up with any questions you have. I'm here to answer. I just hope I get to the critiques, because God knows I have a lot to talk about. But anyway, my boy Polius. I don't know if you downloaded my brushes, but you can do that on aganev.com. You can download my brushes for free. And you get all the brushes, all this shit, and they're actually all set up with the settings. So the thing is, you just need to install this thing called the tool preset. And it's actually a lot more useful than the brushes themselves, because they're like literally names. So I'm only using these 10 brushes. Those are like my main 10 brushes. And I feel like the settings on them are pretty much set in. And something really important that I feel like a lot of guys don't know, if you look at this padlock over here in the brush settings, actually when you lock that, whatever brush you're using, it's gonna remember these settings. So what you actually have to do before before you import my tool presets, you have to unlock all the padlocks. so the brush itself can get like the information that I'll actually set up. um Total Magic says that's some workout can do that. What? I don't know what that means, but yeah. So I think the most important thing when it goes to Photoshop brushes is this thing that I've talked about before. It's called color dynamics. So if you go to the color dynamics, it has hue, saturation, and brightness jitter. And what that means is every brush stroke that you do has a new kind of color into it, right? So if you have 40% hue jitter, that means that every brush stroke might go from 1 to 40 of a difference, right? So it kind of gives it this kind of interesting effect. So if you've seen my work kind of have these color transitions, this is like the main effect that I'm using. Another really useful thing that I use is the shape dynamics and the transfer, but they're kind of set up on the brush itself. So if I'm using a painting brush, the shape dynamics and the transfer, actually the transfer usually on 0, because I really like the idea when you're painting and you're pressing really really lightly. I want to have really light brush strokes, because I kind of like when I'm rendering and I'm painting, I'm kind of like doing these overlays. If you've ever painted with watercolor, I'm kind of like doing this where I'm just kind of really gently touching and adding like just a little bit of color. So the transfer is always going to be on 0. The shade dynamics for painting brushes is going to be on 50, which means that when I'm painting kind of lightly, the brush stroke is going to be smaller, but not super small, because I'm going to show you what happens if you actually get it to 0%. When you get it to a 0, it actually becomes like super tiny, you know what I'm saying? And that works really good for an ink brush, like if you want to draw with that. But if you're actually looking for a painting brush, that can fuck up the painting a lot, because I'm trying to paint with bigger brush strokes to like create a different effect and paint on a plane, and then I'm using like a really tiny brush stroke because the diameter is set on 0. So I hope that helps. Total Magic is saying, by the way, Angel, should I announce that you're live on the Patreon only in Discord? Oh yeah, that can be a good thing, man. I totally forgot about that. Yeah, you can do that. I'm gonna do it from now on. By the way, I usually sometimes send these live streams to the Discord server, just because I don't know, man. I feel like they're gonna help people and shit. So anyway, I hope that helps, Polius. Polius, I'm sorry, man. I'm really bad with names. Hit me up if you have any other questions. So where was I? Oh yeah, I was talking about the iPad shit. So I started out with this line art, then pretty much just lay the colors I normally do. And the interesting thing is, I talked about this brush before, but I wanted to mention it again because it's one of the best brushes I found on the iPad and pretty much in Procreate. So it's called Dry Ink Brush. So if you go into the to the ink brushes, there's this brush called Dry Ink Brush, and it creates this really unique kind of texture, and it's meant only for inking, but I'm kind of using it for painting as well, because just because of the texture. So the interesting thing about this piece is that I pretty much pushed it until here on the iPad, and then I kind of transitioned in Photoshop for the painting, because again, I don't I'm not comfortable with painting on the iPad. So it was kind of like my first painting doing that, and I was kind of thinking of just leaving a piece like that. I have some other pieces where there's like no shading at all, but I feel like the painting is gonna be a lot better if there's shading, and I felt like it's gonna improve that a lot. So a couple of things I wanted to mention as well that I feel like super important is first of all, the lines, I made them like super saturated and super red. So I feel like that creates like a really interesting contrast if you look at the jacket being like super cyanish, and then the lines are super red, you know what I'm saying? And then it kind of like, it transitions really well into the darkness of the pants. So I was kind of like going for this effect in the final where if you actually look at the pants, you can't even see the lines, like they're just connecting with I mean, you can see a little bit of them, but they're not like, like way up in your face. So it's something that I was kind of experimenting with, because I haven't really done that, where some places there's lines, like for example the jacket, and other places there's no lines. So the thing is, I was kind of focusing more on the highlights rather than the shadows, and it's a pretty dangerous thing, I feel, because the shadows are really what shows the structure of the piece, you know what I'm saying? So if you focus only on the highlights, you kind of run into this kind of like danger of your piece kind of looking flat. but I feel like it worked really well for this painting because there's so much darkness. So the only reason I did that is because, you know, the pants and the hoodie and the hair are kind of super dark, you know what I'm saying? So they don't really need any shadows. But my point is, if I was using like super light colors, I don't think that shit would work. Another really important thing, I actually did like a gradient in the hair, and I feel like that came out really well. So if you look at the hair, by the way, something that I recommend all beginners is to keep their lines black. So when you're painting first, let me show you that. So when you're still a beginner or an intermediate, I feel like the most important thing is for you to learn structure, as I've said a million fucking times. So when you have the lines, I want you to actually lower the opacity a little bit and start, or don't even lower it, just paint below below the line art. So you're painting below the line art, and then if you have some changes to do, you go on top of that and you change it. But I don't want you to start kind of fucking around with the colors of the line art that much, because it's gonna give really weird effects. And this is kind of like the result, because I feel like it was gonna look super dope if the hair on the bottom had some line art, but then on top it didn't have any. But you know, you can kind of see where in here the line art was actually lighter than the color. So what happens is, if you have lighter line art, then the color itself is gonna look super weird. So kind of stay away from that. Anyway, that was a long rant. So a couple of other things is that I did in this artwork. If you kind of see the jacket, it kind of has this cyanish color. I feel like adding just a touch of green and actually a little bit of orange. I think I added somewhere, but yeah, just adding, oh yeah, here's the orange. Actually, if you look at the, it's a really small detail, but I wish I actually saved the steps where it's before and after the green, so it's really important every time you're drawing, even if it's like a stylized painting, still add like, different tones of the same color, you know what I'm saying? So anyway, hope that helps. Oh, and yeah, and then I did some highlights for the hair on a different layer, and it was actually an interesting effect because they were painted on a normal layer. So this whole painting was kind of super experimental, because I've never really have had like places where there's like no line art, but then also the highlights are like super, I don't know, they're kind of dark, and at the same time they were on a normal layer. Like I usually put them on light mode, or like a, what was it called, on a linear dodge, you know what I'm saying? So anyway, another piece that I did, because I'm running here on 20 minutes, is DJ says, did you add a sepia filter? I'm not sure what sepia filter is, but no, I didn't add any sepia any filters actually, besides the one that I did in Photoshop with the color grading. So if you've watched, I've talked about it before. I actually have, if you sign up for the email list, there's going to be a separate video where I show you how I color grade. So the only filters I add, let me show you here. I think I have a couple. DJ says, can you remove the link? What link? Wait, what link? I don't really see any link though. Can you tell me what link? I'm gonna remove it. The link isn't private. What are you talking about, man? What type of a link? Now you got me scared. Now you got me real scared. What link? Link to the live stream or what? Alright, I'm gonna have to wait a couple of seconds for him to answer. How about I talk about something nice, like the weather or something? I don't know, man. Holy shit, I got worried now. I gotta get my clothes off now. Don't scare me like that, my boy. I get scared easily, especially when it comes to the stream though. So anyway, let me talk about color grading. So the only filters that I'm gonna add on my artworks are the one that I do in Photoshop. So I actually just color grade directly in Photoshop with selective color and gradient map, and if somebody wants to watch that, message me on Patreon. I'm gonna send you the whole video because it's kind of complicated. So let's move on to the other thing. So I actually finished this painting today. It was kind of like inspired. Total Magic says I removed it. I don't know what you're talking about. but I hope everything is working. So I found this beautiful reference by Liam Wong. I've painted a lot of his different pieces. The one over here in the right. I actually did a little bit of a compilation for you guys to see all the reference that I used, and it's kind of like what people call a mood board. So all of the pieces are actually done with by Liam Wong, and this one is I don't know who this is by. So I was kind of really inspired by the whole composition of this piece, and I kind of wanted to represent something in that environment, but I kind of wanted to have those colors that you kind of see in this one and this one, and kind of like a girl with an umbrella. And I've talked about this before, man, but really like when I feel like when people look at my work, they're like, "Oh my God, you know, you have such an imagination," but I don't. Like I really want to make a point of this that it really doesn't take any imagination. Like all I did is I saw a reference with a guy holding an umbrella, and I was like, "Yo, it would totally look better if there was a girl and there was some trippy text, like some romantic shit." And then I just improved the colors, you know. And then I also found this art of a guy holding the umbrella just because I kind of used it as a reference, you know what I'm saying? So all I'm saying is it doesn't take much, you know. Don't think that you have to be this super creative person, and because you know when I post a painting like this on Instagram, you're like, oh my God, you know, that's crazy, like how do you even get to that level? But the thing is, I've painted like tons of these landscapes, and if you look at the other ones, they're kind of similar, you know what I'm saying? It's just like you're getting, after every piece you kind of get better with like 5% or something, you know what I'm saying? And this is like back in 2017, so this was like 2 years ago. There's not even much of a difference, you know what I'm saying, because I've been working so much on my portraits, but I really want to focus on the landscapes too. So anyway, my point is, don't, you know, focus so much on the final piece and the final idea, but kind of look at, you know, how you got there, you know what I'm saying? It's not that complicated. How much views do these get? You mean on YouTube? I think like they used to get like 10, but now I kind of have some new patrons, so they get humble brag. Well, I can't really brag with my Patreon live streams because they're kind of low. I think the last one kind of got 20. If I post it on the Discord or something, it might get like 100 or something, but I don't know. Hopefully they're, you know, they're on YouTube, so if anybody signs up on Patreon, you know, in the future they're gonna be able to watch the previous live streams. So I hope in the future they're gonna stay here and, you know, help people and all this shit. So anyway, this work was kind of like a complicated process. I kind of wanted to go over the process. I made sure to save a lot of. I actually saved 11 fucking steps. I usually save like 3 or 4 because I really wanted to kind of show you guys the process. Let me show you the reference, by the way. So again, this is kind of like the mood board that I used, and I pretty much just started with a rough sketch, just kind of figuring out, you know, the composition and everything. Cypher says, hi yo, hello Cypher man, how you doing? How you doing, my boy? I'm just in the middle of a rant. As always though. Dude, I always feel some pressure on the Patreon live stream though. I don't know what it is. Like on Twitch, man, like I don't know if you guys watch the live stream on Twitch, but I was just not doing anything, and it felt way more fun. On Patreon, I'm just so concentrated on providing you guys with value that I feel stressed out. But, you know, I'm gonna get better though. It's just, I think it's all about the mindset and all this shit. So anyway, let me talk about this process. So I kind of pretty much just started out with figuring out the composition, and actually the piece itself was like a horizontal composition, and I pretty much just cropped it just to get kind of like the result that I was looking for. And again, you know, the rule of thirds, you never put the character in the middle because it's just gonna look kind of weird unless it's some sort of a central composition. I put everything kind of like on the right side. Thank you, Cypher, man, I appreciate it. So I pretty much just start with a rough sketch, and you know, for complicated illustrations like that, it's really important to know what are kind of like the main pieces of the whole artwork. You know, like what are some of the things. Let me, by the way, open the final, so I have it on the side as well. So the main pieces of the piece, even though, you know, in the final it's like super crazy. Oh, by the way, you have my face here, so I don't know if you're gonna be able to see that, but The main pieces, even though there's so much information, the main pieces I think are the character. I did calm Quinn Big Brain Angel. Oh, I'm glad. I'm glad. So the main piece of the whole piece, I feel like, is first of all the character, of course, and then I feel like this lamppost over here kind of has a big part in the whole thing, because I feel like it kind of adds, you know, some focus to the middle, and then this ramp, it also, I feel like it adds a lot of the thing, because I feel like it kind of balances the whole composition. So you have everything on the right, and then you have the ramp kind of showing, you know, kind of getting everything closer. I don't know, that's kind of like some weird composition shit that I always overthink, but that's actually why I added these two reflections over here in the middle, because I kind of wanted to bring everything closer, you know what I'm saying? Cypher says a bit more up with the finished one. Wait, what? A bit more up with the finished one. A bit more up. I don't understand what that means. Oh, you mean to bring it up because you don't see it in my face? Oh, okay. I'm just gonna put it in like that. How about that? So the thing is, I kind of wanted to know the main things that I'm gonna be adding. DJ says, stress yourself since we paying good money, boy. don't be a troll, DJ, man. So the thing is, I kind of was looking for the main signs that I was gonna add. So I have the one on the left, I have the ones on the right, and I was thinking, how can I combine them as to so they feel balanced, you know what I'm saying? Because again, the character is kind of on the right, so I wanted to have more things on the left. So I'll actually, this whole big dark thing that you're gonna be seeing here is actually what I feel like balances a lot. And then also this flower on the left, you know? So every time you add something on one side of the composition, you really need to think about how you're gonna, you know, balance it out with something on the other side. So this is kind of like the rough sketch that I'll do, you know, just basic lines, and just trying to figure out what the main pieces are gonna be. So where did I rotate this? So after that, I'm kind of looking for a more detailed sketch, but it's still kind of rough. You know, you're kind of seeing everything is super rough. But I'm figuring out where everything everywhere is gonna be. By the way, my dad came home, and hold on a second. I'll be right back in a minute, man. Sorry. Alright, I'm back. Sorry about that. My dad had just came home and I hadn't seen him in some time, so just needed to say hi. Okay, man, this stream is weird. I feel like every time I start a stream, one is gonna be like super chill, and then the next one is gonna be panicky. You know, let me follow the advice that my boy Joshua said and just drink some water. So we have, after the kind of rough sketch where I figure out where everything is gonna be, I kind of like do the rough colors. So every time you do a thumbnail in rough colors, it's really important to kind of keep all the colors super basic. So you can kind of see I'm not using like a lot of colors. I'm using pretty much just blue, pink, light blue, and then green and orange. So that's like 4 or 5 colors, you know, considering how many colors you have in the final, that's like nothing. So the main color in this whole piece is kind of gonna be this blue, and I'm using the pink to contrast that. And it was actually super complicated just figuring out how to even start this piece. And first of all, I started with a really detailed sketch. This fucking sketch took me like an hour or something. It never takes that long, but because there were like so many buildings, and actually we're gonna watch the time lapse on Sunday, so hopefully that's gonna be helpful. So the thing is, in all of these pieces, I always start out with the light places because there's just so much information. I kind of want to lay the most saturated and colored things. So I start out with just pink, blue, and this kind of like blackish color, and then I start adding the other colors. But actually I have the Photoshop file here. I wanted to show you that, you know, you guys know that I'm not really using a lot of layers, but for this one, actually let me move my face. For this artwork, I made sure to keep everything in a separate layer. So you have every single color in here that you're seeing, you know, on a different layer. So you have the red reflection, the orange door, green, black, blue sign, red text, orange, red sign, you know what I'm saying? So for landscapes, complicated landscapes like that, I feel like it's really important for you to keep everything separate, just because you can kind of like change the color later, because there's so many colors, there's so many saturations, so much shit going on, that I feel like if you start out with the final colors, you're really gonna trip yourself. So I kind of start slowly with again building up the colors. And you know, I mean, I always talk about building up the colors, but you know, with landscapes it's even kind of slower than with portraits, because for portraits, for example, you know, if you look at this piece, I pretty much have the final colors in the piece, you know what I'm saying? I mean, there's a little bit of saturation and everything, but it's nothing crazy. With the landscape, you know, it pretty much has nothing to do with the final. And that's pretty much what I wanted to give you the best advice is, when you're doing landscapes, don't try to, you know, get everything at the same time, you know, really break it down. So I'm not having the green, I'm not having, you know, these the window colors, none of that, you know what I'm saying? See, these are the important colors. So I have blue, I have pink, I have fucking black, and then I have the light blue. So after that stage, which is kind of like figuring out where all the lights are gonna be, I start adding like the secondary colors. So the secondary colors are gonna be the green, the reflections of the red, and what else? Oh yeah, and like the signpost. So I feel like a lightning of an orange color is gonna balance the composition as well. Again, some weird shit that I'm always thinking about is how you can make the composition more dynamic, because I feel like the composition was so boring because it was like everything was horizontal. I was thinking about, you know, how can you add more, you know, just dynamics, and I feel like just, you know, adding a reflection like that would make everything a lot more dynamic. So after that, I pretty much start rendering everything. So I go to pretty much every single sign, every single like little square and stuff you're gonna see me in the time lapse video on Sunday, and just I add shadows and light. And I'm thinking about how can I make these colors more interesting, you know what I'm saying? So if you look at the blue in here, look at pretty much what I did is I added light blue, I added dark blue, but then I also added a little bit of purple, you know what I'm saying? So the whole frustration of this whole piece is, how do you add a lot of colors but then also make them work together, you know what I'm saying? So actually a trick that I'm gonna use, that I actually am using, is snapshots. So every time I make a change, I go to the history, and there's, let me move my face, there's this plus over here with the camera that you press. Cypher says, this is honestly one of my favorite pieces by you. The effort you put in really paid off. Oh, I'm so glad, Cypher, man. It felt like a lot of work. I've really been rendering all day. I felt like I got into this weird zone where everything felt super weird, but yeah, I kind of like it as well. Really need to do more. So every time I do a little a bit of a change, I'll go here on the camera and I'll do a snapshot. So after you do a little bit of a change, I'll go back and forth, and of course this is a really big change, but even with the small changes, I'll kind of go back and forth and think about, does this make the piece better? And that's another tip I wanted to give you for drawing landscapes, is I feel like a lot of people feel like when they're drawing landscapes, they feel like they're really far from the finished piece, you know? And I actually read this great tip somewhere, I think it was by Michelangelo or something, some great artist like that, who said that the painting should always look finished. And I mean, that doesn't look finished, but you know, it doesn't look bad, you know what I'm saying? That there shouldn't be a place where the painting just looks, especially for landscapes. I feel like for portraits there might be some places where it looks super messy, but for landscapes it's so complicated that you really need to have everything structured. So that's why I have all the colors, you know, super neat, you know, I'm kind of erasing everything, and that's why it takes a lot more time, because you know, I'm kind of going from a layer to layer. Again, you're gonna see in the video, but that's the best tip I can give you for painting landscapes like that, is really to keep everything super simple and kind of think what is missing for this piece to be finished, you know what I'm saying? Like, what else do I need to add? Because I feel like a lot of people are like, oh my god, there's so much things I need to add, and it's kind of like, no, there's just a couple of things that you need to add, and you need to break it down. So first you start with the signs, with the bright spots, then you have the reflections, you have the secondary colors, then you have like lights and shadows, and then you have just details like the text and shit, and then you just have lighting. So this step is just lighting, and then finally you have the color correction. And that's another thing, is because in the final you see all of these kind of subtle tones. Let me actually zoom in and show you all the interesting color correction that I did. So actually in the final you can see kind of like how there's a lot more interesting greens, like the purple became a lot more vibrant. And that's another thing, is don't focus on making the colors so different from each other. Cypher says the effect on the umbrella, sorry for the noob question, but how did you do that? Oh, that's totally not noob at all, man. I'm gonna explain that. So let me show you actually the layers themselves. So the umbrella has one layer for the line art, and then I have another layer for kind of like the transparency, and then I have another layer for doing the highlights on top. So really the way to do transparency, I mean, there's a couple of ways. The most basic way is to draw something and then drop the opacity. But what that happens is it looks super basic, because you don't really have any texture, you don't really have anything like that, you know what I'm saying? But that's kind of like the easiest way to do it. And the way that I did it in this place is when you watch the video, you're gonna see I get the lasso tool, right? So I get the lasso tool, I press Alt. So when you press Alt on the lasso tool, you actually get the straight lasso tool, and you can actually make a straight selection. So I make a straight selection with the lasso tool, I hide the selection, which if you're using my shortcuts, it's done with Control Shift and D. Oh, Anna says good evening, sorry I'm late. Good evening, Anna, how you doing, man? No problem, you can watch that later. So I actually hide the selection, and I'll press super lightly, and I'll go over the umbrella. So what I'm doing is I'm actually adding texture and edges on the umbrella itself. So I'm not just kind of going over and doing that and dropping the opacity, you know what I'm saying? So I'm pressing really lightly, but at the same time I'm making sure that I'm doing confident brush strokes. So every time you do a confident brush stroke, you can kind of see how it has this hard edge, and it kind of like makes everything a lot more structural, you know what I'm saying? You can't be a pussy about it, just kind of like make this soft as brush strokes. So even though it looks super soft, I'm still using hard brush strokes. So after I kind of have the basics, the basic brush strokes, I actually go with the eraser and I erase a little bit of that, just pressing kind of lightly. And a great tip that you can use for everything that's kind of transparent, like glasses or anything that you have to be looking through it, is to add a lot more color on the edges. So if you actually get an airbrush, you can actually look at that immediately. Just let me show you. So if you add a little bit of white on the edges itself, it's gonna look a lot more transparent. So I pretty much use that for glasses, for again anything transparent. So on the edges I'll add a lot more white, a lot more color, and then in the middle I actually go with an airbrush and actually erase a little bit of that, and that kind of gives you the effect that it's in 3D space, because everything that's going further away from you, it actually has a lot more color. Total Magic says welcome. Anyway, it's been 40 minutes, really though. Anyway, I'm gonna move to the critiques now, but hopefully that was kind of helpful. Oh, and yeah, again, so when I'm doing the color correction is really when I'm kind of playing with the colors. You can kind of see, I mean, I don't know if you can kind of see on the YouTube stream, but because it's so HG on my monitor, you can kind of see how much of a big difference the colors make. So don't be worried about adding all of the interesting colors, in the beginning. Kind of leave it more for the color correction. It's more about you just kind of laying all the all the structures and kind of like having clean edges, and then with overlay or color dodge or color correction, you can do all the interesting colors. Total Magic says, oh, so I'm gonna use that on the glasses for draw this with Angel. Oh yeah, that's a great idea. Let me show you. I think I've done a couple of examples here. I had this Oh no, this actually doesn't have any. I was thinking about this character, but then I realized I didn't really add any. And by the way, that's another thing. If you're drawing glasses, you don't even have to add any glass to it. You know what I'm saying? Like I pretty much just draw the rims, and it still kind of looks, you know, super cute. Anna says amazing painting. Thank you so much. Saturation at max. Yeah. So another thing that was really important for me in that piece, I kind of wanted to give it this nostalgic look, but then at the same time give it this saturated, super vibrant look as well. So usually when you have a vibrant look, you know, you have the contrast kind of going, you know, super high. And actually in the final you can kind of see how I actually pump the if you look at the reds, for example, they're a lot stronger, but the piece itself doesn't really have a lot more contrast, you know what I'm saying? So that's actually done pretty much with just the selective color and a lot of the editing that I do in Lightroom. So I actually go, let me show you real quick how I do it. So actually I go to the not Lightroom, I go to the selective color, and I pretty much go to every single, let me delete this mess. I go to every single color of these. For example, I go to the reds and I bump a lot more red. You know, I go to the magentas, I bump a lot more magenta. And I actually I've already done that, so you're not gonna see much of a difference, but actually you will. So then you go to the blues, you add a lot more blue. You know, you go to the cyan, you a lot more cyan, and actually, or maybe you add a lot more yellow, and it kind of becomes green. You know, like it becomes like beautiful effects. You know what I'm saying? The thing is, the great thing about selective color. Oh, holy shit! It actually looks pretty good. Total Magic says the wet ground and the reflection makes it look 99% better. Oh, thank you so much. Yeah, that's actually a big part as well of the painting. I kind of wanted to give it this rainy look. And by the way, I can show you how I did the rain as well. Cypher says, and you say you aren't creative. Yeah, I mean, is that really creative though? Like, I was just editing the colors. I mean, you know, I just wanted to say that you don't have to be creative because I don't want you to feel pressured. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, even if you're not creative, I feel like with practice you can do it. DJ says she's lucky today I'm drenched in rainwater. Oh yeah, I was actually raining in my place as well, in my country. So the beautiful thing about selective color is that it gives you these vibrant colors, but it doesn't make the piece weird, because I'm gonna show you what happens if you actually go and bump the saturation only. So a lot of people say, you know, you have super saturated paintings, but I don't do it with like saturation alone. Look at what happens if you just bump up the saturation. So let me show you the difference between these two. So this is selective color, this one, and this is just saturation. You know what I'm saying? Just saturation makes everything look weird, and then selective color makes everything come alive. You know what I'm saying? So actually, every time you see me using super saturated colors, I'm not using the saturated tool, but I'm painting super saturated colors, and then with selective color and then Adobe Lightroom, I'm actually making them, you know, even more vibrant. And you can also use these too. If you go to the little circle in here, you go to vibrance, you can also bump up the vibrance. So I'm always using vibrance instead of saturation, but the problem with vibrance is that it's also increasing the contrast. And again, I didn't want to have, you know, because you can kind of see how the blues become way too saturated, they become kind of weird. Really the best, you know, the best thing you can do is actually go into the selective color and pretty much, you know, as I explained to you, go through every one of these. You know, you go to the greens, you bump up the greens, and you just make the colors come alive. DJ says, look at all these reds, they're kind of going crazy, man. So anyway, this is for this artwork. Let me get to the critiques, because there won't be any time. Cypher says, is this painting out on Patreon yet? Yeah, I still haven't posted it. I'm gonna post it right after the live stream. And I'm sorry guys, I know, you know, usually Patreon should be like a little bit more, you know, I should be posting everything before the Instagram, but I just get so tired at night that I just post it everywhere, you know what I'm saying? But hopefully the live stream is gonna be useful enough to kind of, you know, show you the process and all this shit. So let me get to the critiques. I got a couple of entries in here. I have some notes, and first I wanted to start with my boy Joshua, man. I'm super excited. Oh, did I just close? Oh fuck, I just closed Or, oh no, here it is. Okay, okay. Oh, so good, so good. So I have some notes in here, and first we're gonna start with Joshua, because I'm super excited. My boy actually started painting with color, and DJ says, "Oh no, he read my joke target about his patron." What? I don't know, man. Half of the time I don't even know what your guys is saying. So I'm really excited because I guys always tell you to oh yeah, you can totally do it as a wallpaper cipher. Yeah, I'd love that. Actually, you know what? Oh yeah, I'm gonna post it on Sunday with a kind of higher quality, so you can use it as a wallpaper there. So anyway, I always tell you guys that you should start with black and white because really that's the way to go. So you first start with structure, kind of like what Christy and Darren are doing, kind of like with this. Then you start doing more of a black and white studies, I've talked about this before. And then you get to still lifes, and then you get into color. So I've been working with Joshua for the past 2-3 months, and he's gotten so much better, man. I'm so happy for him, and these are kind of like his some of his first portraits with color, and I kind of wanted to give him some critique. So I feel like the colors are just great. I mean, for his level, they're just there's like color tonality. There's different colors. They're pretty vibrant. There's no muddy colors. You're doing pretty good. Only critique I can give you is kind of like, because I know you're kind of focusing a little bit more on the colors, so I feel like you kind of forgot about the proportions. So a lot of because he sent me 3 portraits, I feel like all of these portraits can kind of have kind of like a weird proportion issues. So I kind of wanted to show you guys a trick that I'm using. I'm coming for that level. Oh yeah, you're definitely gonna get there, man. Total Magic says, "Oh damn, that was a drawing. Looked like a picture." Oh, okay. See, hear that, Joshua, man. You're doing pictures now. Cypher says, "Man, I wish I was rich enough for the mentorship." Oh, you don't. You know what I'm saying? That's why I wanted to do these live streams for people who kind of like, don't have the money for the mentorship, because I'm kind of showing you what I'm teaching other people. It's not as personal as the mentorship, but I feel like it's kind of like the same content. Like, I don't want to make you feel, guys, that I'm hiding anything. I'm trying to give you everything. You know what I'm saying? I feel like the mentorship is just kind of like a more personal place for me to explain you that. I wish I was more confident. Are you talking about the painting? Because Joshua has definitely gotten confident, by the way, and the best way you can solve that is actually just through pure practice. So the more you practice, the more confident you become, because your skills are kind of going up. So the thing about Joshua that I wanted to mention is he actually has all of the kind of features going in a weird way. So if you actually have a great trick that you can use, you can draw the mouth, the chin, and the eyes kind of with perpendicular, what is called? Anyway, you just draw straight lines, and then you have everything that's gonna kind of be aligned to that. So if you actually look at this eye, it was actually supposed to be way lower than this. You know what I'm saying? So I actually wanted to give this tip to Joshua and everybody who has problem with proportions. One of the most important things is just adding these lines just to kind of like see where everything is gonna be. And then just in general, I kind of feel like everything is kind of like squashed around. So I feel like I can make it better with the liquify tool, but don't get too worried about this. I feel like with practice, you're gonna get a hold of this, and it's gonna become much better. So that's not really even like a critique. It's just more like a keep at it kind of a speech, because you're gonna get better. You know what I'm saying? So just look at a little bit of a liquify, how much better she looks. I kind of feel like you gave her this weird chin, so super manly. DJ says, I was referring to wishing to be more confident to be a mentor when I joined week 3. I was referring to wishing to be more confident to be a mentor when I joined week 3. What? Wait, you want to be a mentor? I got confused, man. I'm sorry. whatever it is, confidence is built, man. Like I can, you know, I mean, I'm pretty nervous now, but if you watched some of my first streams, I was really, you know, not confident. I feel like the more you do it, whatever it is, recording, painting, you know, the fucking training, you're gonna get more confident with time. Um, so anyway, I wanted to actually mention to Joshua that, and pretty much everybody that has this problem with females, what happens is you guys are drawing these square jaws. So it will look really good on a male, but look at how square this is. You know what I'm saying? Like for a female, she should really have her jaw kind of going this way. You know what I'm saying? It's kind of like almost, you know, pointing somewhere. You know what I'm saying? Because the way you painted it is like it kind of, you know, it's kind of almost like a square. You know what I'm saying? So that's a thing that I feel like can improve your jaw. Ooh, that was a nice burp. So another thing is make sure that both the eyes have the same. Actually, you kind of gave her this lazy eye kind of thing. So that's another thing that Joshua needs to work more on. Is make sure that you make her eyes look at you, not the fucking door or something. You know what I'm saying? So look at that. That's kind of like the problem that you had with the eye. And another really important thing is because the head is kind of turned a little bit to the side, this eye on this side is actually gonna be a little bit smaller. So the problem that you had is you drew them pretty much the same. Let me show you. You pretty much drew them the same size, but the problem is it still looks weird because this one is supposed to be bigger because it's closer to you. You know what I'm saying? So actually, if you make it kind of bigger, it's gonna look better. Man, with that changed so much by doing so little. Oh yeah, that's why it's so important. That's why it's so important to learn about structure, man. I always tell you guys, like, look at, like, I didn't even paint anything, you know. It was just kind of like moving, you know, things around, and it was literally like, I don't know, like 3 minutes work if you don't include my fucking rants and shit. So the more you paint, actually not even paint, the more you draw and the more you understand structure and kind of like where everything is gonna be, the more, you know, real your portraits become. Because people think that, you know, in order for everything to be super real, it has to be like super detailed. No, it just has to be with the right color in the right place. You know what I'm saying? Look at that. Just that's kind of like a little change, but the thing is, focus more on the structure. And I know I always say that, but you know, it's really important for you guys to be sketching out and really understanding how the head works. You know, all this painting shit and rendering, you know, you can understand that later, but really the structure in itself is the most important thing. Anyway, let's move on. So I hope that helps Joshua keep up with the color portraits, and I'm gonna critique you. Next up we have Darren, who actually has been getting better because he finally quit his job and he can paint more because he was slacking for a little while there. And he's still on the stage with structure and black and white portraits, but he's actually definitely getting better, man. Like, look at his portrait. That's great work. Look at how he actually twisted the eyebrow. Like, I feel like a lot of beginners would actually paint these eyebrows super straight and it would just lose a lot of the form. And what he realized is that this eyebrow is actually going, you know, it's going up and then it's going down. And if you just paint it straight, you're gonna lose a lot of the perspective, because the thing that happens with this head is because it's kind of going down like that, you have everything in perspective. So actually everything is actually going either this way or going this way. You know, there's nothing straight because it's at an angle. You know what I'm saying? Let me break down this for you because I feel like it's going to be super important. Total Magic says structure. Dude, I really am going to become a meme if I keep it up like that with the structure shit. But I feel like it's, again, so important. So the thing that you're noticing with this head is because it's at an angle, it's actually in perspective. And the best way you can picture this perspective is if you draw a box. So if you look at this box right here, imagine, as weird as it sounds, that this head is in a box. So if you imagine the box, and then there's like the back sides of the box. if you imagine a box, it's gonna be really easier for you to kind of imagine all the perspective on the character. So all of the lines of the portraits are gonna follow. Let me get a pink color. So all of the no, let's get a green one. So if you look at the lines of the portrait, they're gonna follow the lines of the box. So the nose, the mouth, the ear, you know, everything is gonna be in perspective. Dude, the Reddit page is gonna need memes. I know. I'm a meme producer. Don't even worry about it. So even the circle on top is still gonna be in perspective because it's not even a circle, it's an oval because it's going this way. You know what I'm saying? So even the center line is kind of going in like that. You know what I'm saying? So whenever you have everything in an angle, kind of picture a box and you know, things being in 3D space. And I feel like, you know, Darren did it pretty good. Again, I think he still has a bit of problems with proportions. So let me see what I can do with the liquify tool. Dude, it always feels like so weird working with the liquify tool on you guys paintings because I feel like a magician. Like, just give me a little bit of liquify tool. I can make everybody an Instagram model. That should be my motto. Just I make people into Instagram models with my liquify shit. Actually, this eye needs to move in a little bit. Dude, I've spent so much time moving things around in liquify, man. This shit is crazy. Let me show you. Actually, it looks a little bit weird, but I think it became kind of better. So see how the head was kind of, you know, in a weird, kind of skewed in a weird way, you know what I'm saying? So another great tip that I already showed Joshua, again, draw the lines, man. Like if you draw the same lines, you're gonna find out that this eye, look at how this line actually needs to rotate like that. And if it rotates like that, this eye needs to go down a little bit, you know what I'm saying? So it's all, again, it's all structure, it's all proportion. So anyway, Cypher says, I sent you an email, by the way. I don't want to nag at all, but I was just wondering if you saw it. When did you send it though? I'm trying to answer all of my emails, but you know what? Let's check it on the stream. I hope I don't have some weird emails for you guys to see. Oh, okay, I have a lot of fucking emails. Drawings for critique on Patreon. Oh shit, that was yesterday, man. See, I answered all of the emails up to yours, so you must have sent it after I was checking it. But I promise next week I'm gonna get it though. I promise. So this is it for Darren. You're doing great, buddy. I think you're kind of ready. You're ready for the next stage. We're gonna talk to kind of like, I wanted to kind of show you, because I feel like he's rendering a little bit too much. I want Darren to kind of focus more on the lines and the just basic shading, and then we can kind of move on to the females. He did this female kind of here. He wrote, let's pretend this never happened. So this is story of my life. Let's just pretend this didn't happen. But when he kind of gets into females, you can kind of see how he gets back to this kind of a weird style of his that he used to do. So hopefully, you know, he's gonna get better with the females, because he's gotten so much better with the males. You know, it's a matter of time for the females to get better. Oh yeah, Cypher, I promise I'm gonna get to you next time, man. And another thing that I mentioned, that I show in this portrait, Darren, make sure that you're exaggerating the lines. So what you did here is, if you look at the girl, look at how expressive this whole jawline is. So if you actually look at the jawline, it's kind of going in like that, then it comes off like that, then there's the lips. So actually the lips are going outside of the cheekbones, right? So you have the lips and then the cheekbones go in, you know what I'm saying? And the way you did it, you just painted one straight line. So look at what it was supposed to be, and look at what you painted, you know what I'm saying? So always, especially when stuff is in, you know, 3D and it's kind of like at an angle, make sure that you're drawing all of the forms. I'm not saying, you know, exaggerate it so much that it looks weird, you know, you have the cheekbone like that. I'm just saying, you know, you gotta paint what you're seeing. You know, what you did here is not what's in here, you know what I'm saying? So actually make sure that, you know, because that's such a big personality trait, you know what I'm saying, that's showing a lot of her Let me show you if I actually move that. Actually, that's making the portrait a lot more interesting, and the way you did it, it kind of looks super generic, you know what I'm saying? So that's why you actually have to show you know, a lot of the forms. Then I feel like the eyes are pretty good, but then the cheekbones, you know what I'm saying? Look at that, before and after. You know what I'm saying? So the cheekbones kind of actually needs to come out a little bit. Total Magic says, I'll send some stuff for next stream, so you better liquefy my drawings too. Oh, I'm so glad, man. I'm so glad people were signing up, because I used to do streams for the longest time ever, and nobody used to send their work. But I'm happy you guys want to get critiques, man. I'm here to help everybody. I just hope I get to them, because I have a lot of things to talk about. So then we have Renee. I hope I pronounced that right. Renee. She has these beautiful artworks, man. She has a beautiful style. I think that those are like my Draw This in Your Style challenges. This is like my last character, and I'm gonna say something that I've said 1,000 times before, but I feel like I can't say it enough. You know, you're doing great with your style, but the thing is, you've actually gotten so stylized without actually building the foundations. So what happens is you pretty much are drawing the same face over and over again. You know, I'm not saying it's a bad face, I'm just saying it's the same face. You know, the only thing that's different is kind of like the jawline in here is actually a little bit, you know, kind of going like that, and then the eyebrows are raised. You know what I'm saying? DJ says, I'm especially sorry for not submitting. Oh, you have to submit on Sunday, DJ. No slacking, buddy. No slacking. You gotta work. So the thing, Renee, is that you really need to understand all of the things that I'm constantly talking about, like, you know, again, structure and just pretty much 3D space, you know, all of the planes of the head, all these different things that I'm making my students do all the time. So, you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not making them do this shit just because, you know, it's fun, but because you're gonna learn a lot, you know what I'm saying? So that's the most basic exercise that I've shown you guys. Is gain a reference, you drop the opacity, you draw the structure on top, and then you do it with a free hand without actually looking at the line art. So the thing that you need to be doing. Oh, Joshua is back. What are your thoughts on starting a painting in black and white and using a gradient map to add colors? Hello, Joshua, man. I already critiqued your art. Maybe you can watch it later, but she couldn't make it to this live stream. Will there be a video later? Oh yeah, it's there definitely gonna be on YouTube, a video. So hopefully Renee is gonna watch this. But to answer Joshua's question, to color black and white portraits, I've seen a lot of people doing it. I've kind of done it a couple of times, but I feel like it's one of the stupidest things to do, because you pretty much are wasting the vibrance of the color. You're wasting, you know, the life of the color. First of all, when you have black and white painting and you try to use you know, for example, layers and you know, color dodge and all these things, the thing is, you don't even know what's gonna come out of the colors that you're drawing. Because let me show you something. Because the value is so complicated that, let's say for example, we have this portrait. There's so much subtle transitions that are just built into this color that, for example, the black and white looks really good, you know what I'm saying, but there's no transition. So if you actually start with the black and white and you draw with an overlay, first of all, overlay or soft light or whatever color mode you're using, it's gonna act completely different depending on the value of you know what I'm saying, the value of the painting. So the thing is, even though it looks really good at, you know, kind of at the first glance, I think everybody can tell that you were using overlay or whatever you're using just to color it. And it's always gonna look, you know what it's gonna look? It's gonna look like makeup that you're just putting on top. Because the thing is, you can't have the same control over the color with painting on top of black and white, because you don't even know how the layer is gonna act. You know, at least I don't know. I mean, you might know, but it's so complicated that, for example, you know, you're drawing with this color, but look at how it looks in the overlay. This is the color that you're drawing with, and this is how it comes off. You know what I'm saying? That's unpredictable. You know what I'm saying? And when you're painting on, that's why I'm a big believer that in the beginning of the painting you should always be using normal colors, because they're predictable. And in my opinion, layer modes are only there to make things better. You know, they're there for, you know, like a bonus. They're there to make everything better. They're not there to, you know, build something on top. Cypher says, how early should you wait, what? How early should you be submitting pieces if you want to be critiqued on the stream? I submitted right after last week's stream, I think. Oh, did you really though? I'm sorry. I thought your email was from yesterday though. Maybe I didn't see it. Well, you can pretty much send it whenever. I'm gonna. Oh shit, did you really though? Oh shit, you did. I'm sorry, Cypher. Oh shit, you know what? I'm gonna critique it right now. I feel bad for you, buddy, man. Oh shit, I even wrote you that I will be talking about it next stream. I'm sorry, buddy. I'm gonna talk about it right now. My apologies, man. Let me open the downloads. Okay, so that was for Darren. Actually, oh yeah, I was explaining to Joshua. So yeah, Joshua, no, I don't think you should be coloring black and white, because it's unpredictable and it's not a good thing to be doing if you really want to get good. You know what I'm saying? I don't think anybody good does that. Oh, by the way, let me finish with Rene, by the way, and I'm gonna get to Cypher. And I'm sorry, Cypher, man. I'm gonna make it up to you. So Rene, the thing is, I've talked about this before. If you watch previous streams, man, everybody who's just kind of missed these fundamentals and has gotten to developing this kind of a style of its own, you know, kind of like Darren had this problem, Joshua had this problem. Pretty much everybody who's an intermediate and hasn't done a lot of studies has this problem, because, you know, again, look at really closely. Let me zoom in the faces. It's really the same way, you know, the same way you painted the eyes, you know, you had the same highlight. I mean, yeah, the color is a little bit different, but the form of the nose is different. The lips are, the form of the nose is the same. The lips are the same. And the reason for that is because you think that that's how you draw a nose. So when you haven't actually studied how to draw a nose, you're like, oh, I've seen, you know, Ilya Kuvshinov or anybody who's really good and it's stylized painting. You've seen them draw a nose like that and you try to copy it. And the thing is, Ilya Kuvshinov, if you actually been following his work, let me open an artwork of his. He's painted for so long that he really understands how portraits work so well that he can really pull anything off. Where is my portrait painting? Oh yeah, let me show you an artwork of his. So even though he's kind of drawing in the same simplistic style, look at how different these portraits are, you know. Even though he pretty much doesn't have any, you know, quote-unquote structure, he still, you can see how everything is super right and it's super in place, you know what I'm saying? So even though it's the same style and, you know, they have black hair, they have the same skin color, they kind of give you off a completely different vibe, you know, these two pieces. And the pieces that Rene has give you off the same vibe. And my whole theory and my whole philosophy is that if you stay in this style, you're never gonna get to this. So if you actually want to get to this, you need to go through this stage that's not really pleasurable of you learning how to do everything. And that's pretty much what Joshua is doing, what Darren is doing, what everybody who's on my mentorship is doing, because you really need to get through the learning. And if you actually see Ilya Kuvshinov's work, he was actually doing a lot more realistic stuff. So Kuvshinov Ilya was back in 2015. I don't know if I have any of his artworks, but he has pretty realistic style. You know, it's only in recent years that he gotten, you know, into this super stylized, you know, I mean, he was always working in a stylized style, but it's gotten way more stylized as he's gotten better. You know what I'm saying? I don't know if I have any of his old works, but for example, I think this was 2016 and 15. Like, he was already getting pretty stylized, but this is still more realistic than this. You know what I'm saying? You can kind of see a lot more of the, you know, structure and everything. So the thing is, you know, everybody who's really good got through this stage of learning things. So if you really want to get good, you really need to get through learning the anatomy, learning planes of the face, all this. And the best way to start, as I told you, is really what Christy did. She's the best example for that. Really just getting references and breaking them down and using planes of the face to do that. So that's the exercise that you should be doing. And by the way, while we're still on the subject, Christy's doing great, man. You know what? Let me get to Cypher though. Cypher says it's totally fine. Don't worry about it if you don't have time. Well, I've already been streaming hour and 10 minutes. Now I can mention it. I can do a bigger critique next time, but I kind of just wanted to look at your works. And normally I kind of look at people's work before the stream so I can have some notes, but I'm gonna just kind of freestyle this. So you have pretty good works. I feel like you're still you know, you're still kind of in the zone where you're learning, but I feel like you have a little bit of a structure. Like you definitely haven't gone past the, you know, the stage where you've developed such a hardcore style that you can't really get anywhere. But pretty much, you know, that's why I kind of feel bad for you guys for doing the live stream sometimes, because I'm always telling you guys pretty much the same, is you need to be doing the exercises that I'm showing you. And it sounds kind of stupid because, you know, I'm telling everybody to do the same thing, but if you're doing these portraits and you don't have the knowledge, you're pretty much drawing what you think you're drawing. So you're actually not drawing an eye. Even though this looks kind of cool, when you draw an eye like that, which is just two different, you know, curves, it looks, I don't know, it just looks unrealistic. If Ilya Kushinov did it, because he understands so well everything, he can actually pull it off. And you guys remember what I did with Joshua, you know, just a couple of brush strokes and I made everything not even brush strokes, a couple of liquify pushes and I made everything better. So the thing is, as you're kind of getting super good, Total Magic says, wanna get good gets cooled. Yeah, just you gotta be doing the fundamentals, man. And as you're kind of getting better and better, you kind of develop your eye to notice all the little mistakes, all, you know, all the proportional issues and everything. And if you're starting out with drawing these stylized portraits, you know, you're gonna have fun, but you're not gonna learn a lot of things, you know what I'm saying? So I feel like that's the best advice I can give for beginners is, you're doing good, but you could be doing better. You're pretty much just wasting time right now while you can be studying and just getting better. Like when I took Joshua and Darren, man, and I'm not saying, you know, you need to be signed up for my mentorship or anything like that. Like you can still do it on your own. I'm just saying that, you know, when I took Joshua, like he had no structure at all. Like he was just doing, and Darren as well. Like Darren, I don't keep any of their works, but I should though. Darren had this really just style that everybody, you know, as Renee, just everything looked the same, you know what I'm saying? And again, if art is just your hobby or something, there's nothing wrong with that. The problem is, if you want to get good, you need to, you know, work on the fundamentals. It's not stupid if doing the same thing clearly works. Yeah, that's why I'm a big believer that it works, because I see it in everybody. Like it worked for me, you know, for the longest time ever. I was drawing the same things. The same style, and then I started focusing on learning, and you know, I got better. Like Joshua got better, Darren got better, you know what I'm saying? So it's working. It's about working the fundamentals. DJ says, well, Angel, once someone is higher level, they start ditching us. Yeah, that's totally true, and I'm about to ditch your ass as well. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, I feel like that's why it's so important for I don't know, kind of to be learning from somebody who's also learning at the same time, because I feel like people either just quit art or they just focus on the art itself, or they become like hardcore teachers and they only teach. And kind of like some teachers that I've seen in my life, because, you know, I got authority issues and I'm pretty bad with teachers. The only teachers that I've seen in my life are people who teach for a living. Like, I don't want to be that type of a person. Like, really, I just want to get famous and get money and get bitches, but and this mentorship is gonna help. But really, I feel like if you're only teaching, you forget how to paint because you're actually not painting anymore. You're just teaching, you know what I'm saying? And I feel like that's the problem with a lot of teachers. They just spend so much time teaching, they actually forget that what they're teaching. You know, they're repeating like I'm repeating the same stuff over and over. Imagine if I did that for 20 years. You know, I would just be sitting here like a parrot, like we're just repeating the same things. The thing that you should be doing, in my opinion, is you need to be learning new things and constantly pushing yourself and then just sharing with people. You know, not even I don't know if I'm teaching, but my goal is to share. You know, I don't even want to teach you guys anything. I believe everybody should be self-taught because that's the ultimate knowledge is you learning it, not somebody else. And I mean, pretty much everything has to be learned by you. Like, you can't just watch a video and learn it. You know, you have to actually apply it. But the thing is, you know, just experience, man. That's the thing I want to focus on, and that's why I'm pushing myself to do Twitch and to, you know, draw these different landscapes or whatever I'm doing, is because I want to get as much experience as possible. Like, even the mentorship, everything in his life is an experience. You know what I'm saying? Like, even having calls with you guys, or, you know, kind of like doing this mentorship is an experience. And if you're doing the same things over and over, your art is gonna look the same. And I'm sorry to say that because that kind of sounds bad, but you know what I'm saying? You need to know what the path is from somebody successful and then just do that. So I hope that helps. Cypher says, I try to go into every piece attempting to learn something new, but I like to finish things. Yeah, that's totally me. Like, I'm not saying you should not finish things. I'm just saying that you really need to, in order for you to learn something, you really need to you need to be learning from somewhere. Like, even if you use the reference in here, like, that's the thing I don't understand is beginners are using, even if they're using references, they're not like actually drawing the reference they're seeing. They're doing this weird sort of a copy where, you know, it doesn't look like the reference. And the thing is, the more you copy the reference, the more you're gonna learn. You know, if you don't have any reference in the beginning, you know, I've talked about this on YouTube. If you don't have any reference, what the fuck are you gonna learn? You know, you're not just gonna sit there, repeat a line, and I mean, you're gonna get better at drawing the same line, but you're not gonna learn how to draw an eye if you're not looking at an eye. You know what I'm saying? So that's why it's so important when you're studying is to actually have something in front of you, whether it's other people's work, whether it's references, and not only have it, but actually study it. You know, have it and try to copy it as best as possible. You know, don't just have it there and be like, you know, I'm just gonna do, you know, sort of something similar. Like, don't, if you're a beginner on any media, don't try to do what I'm doing with you know, complicated landscapes and all this shit where, you know, I'm changing a lot of stuff. You really should be, like, for example, creating mood boards and trying to create something similar. You really should be copying the reference as best as possible just to learn as much as possible. Total Magic says, is this live stream just a big ad for your mentorship? I'm afraid it is. I really I've kind of became afraid of that because it really sounds like that, but I feel like, but the thing is, you know what it is? I don't even want to do the mentorship for a living. Like, I feel like the mentorship, I really want to create a course and be able to teach people. You know, I want people to teach themselves. But the thing is, I can't create a course if I don't actually, you know, teach people how to paint first. Like, I need to know how to teach people. So as weird as this sounds, I really am using Patreon and this mentorship to learn how to teach people. You know what I'm saying? So once I get like 1 or 2 years of experience of actually teaching people, I can actually do the course. Because that's another thing, is I don't understand people that do, you know, tutorials and courses and all this shit without actually having any previous experience. So you can kind of see how awkward I am at this live stream. So just imagine doing a course and charging people like $300 with being so awkward. You know what I'm saying? So really, I don't know. I know I'm not even talking about art anymore, but my whole thing is you should be building experience on top of experience. Total Magic says, words from God. It better become, I need to catch up to Joshua since I'm early Patreon. Joshua says, I think Angel said it best 2 months ago. Do you want to learn or do you want to make pretty pictures? Yeah, that's totally true, man. Like, And I feel like it's something that I'm kind of. The problem is I'm always saying I want to do pretty pictures. You know, like my whole style is about drawing pretty pictures. But I feel, and it's the same with the likes. Like I'm always, okay, this is gonna be super interesting. I'm always saying I need to get likes on Instagram, and I'm always saying that I want to draw pretty pictures, right? The problem is the way to go about that is not by actually doing it. So if you want to actually get likes on Instagram, you shouldn't just be staying with your same shitty art and trying to figure out how to get likes. The way to go about it is to get good and then get likes. And the same with pretty pictures. If you actually want to draw pretty pictures, you need to study how to draw pretty pictures, not actually paint pretty pictures. You need to learn how to draw pretty pictures. Does that make any fucking sense? And I swear, it's one of the things that took me fucking years to realize. Like, just because you want to paint pretty pictures doesn't mean that that's the best thing that you should be doing. If you really want to do that, you should find the best way to do it. You know, it's kind of like, for example, the gym. You want to. I don't know. That's a bad example because I don't have any experience there. But again, with painting, just because you think that's good for you doesn't mean it's the best way to do it. So really, if you want to paint pretty pictures, you should learn how to do it. And you don't learn just by drawing the same style. It's by doing, structure and doing fundamentals. DJ says everyone needs to experience Angel calling them a twink. I don't even know what the twink is, but I'm guessing it's something. It's a bad word, so I'm pretty sure. You know what? Let's Urban Dictionary. Twink. It sounds funny. A twink. Usually considered homosexual. That's so funny, dude. I typically from the ages of 18 to 25. Dude, I'm a twink myself. Dude, I think if you write twink in Google, my picture is gonna come up. Total Magic says this is going to be my meme collection. Oh, that's funny. So anyway, that's my advice for you, Cypher, man. I don't know if you're still in the chat, but that's my advice to everybody. I really think you can learn all of these things by yourself, but I don't think I can even critique this picture because, I can show you where your anatomy is wrong and all this shit, but it's not gonna help you in the core. Really, what's gonna help you in the core is you doing the exercises that I'm showing you every week, and you don't even have to, I'm saying, like, you just have to watch what I'm doing and then just repeat it. Like, it's just so easy. And the thing is, I can critique an exercise that you're doing because I feel like for Joshua, for example, I can show you, like, you're doing this thing wrong with the jawline. But these pieces that you guys have been doing, like, yeah, you've gotten to a pretty good level. But the thing is, like, even if I critique, I show you, like, it's gonna look better with the mouth going, up a little bit. The problem is that's not gonna solve the bigger issue. The bigger issue is that you don't have the foundation. You don't actually have, like, the structure over there. Did anybody count how many times she said pretty pictures during that rant? Yes, finally, this is what I paid for. Angel going to Urban Dictionary. Yeah, I don't know how many times they say pretty pictures. Oh, it was definitely a lot. Oh, I just hit my leg. Anyway, I really need to end this stream because it's getting way too long. But let me see who else I needed to talk about. Oh, I needed to talk about Rose and Christy. Oh, I totally forgot that. Angel learned about Gatorade and Twink in both streams. Oh yeah, last time my boy DJ wrote Gatorade and I rated this Gatorade. I was like, what the fuck is Gatorade? Yeah, but I'm way smarter now. So anyway, we have Christy. He's been doing her exercises of structural, the ones that I always talk about. And I feel like she's ready for the next stage, man. We really need to have a call soon. We haven't had a call September, I think, with her. So I think she's ready to kind of move on to a little bit of rendering and shadows. I feel like her structure is pretty good. So Christy, if you're watching that, I'm going to send you a message and we can schedule a call and everything. But this is pretty good, man. Again, just don't just draw the planes there just because they're supposed to be there, but really think about the planes as if there in 3D in 3D space. You know what I'm saying? Let me show you this real quick. Oops, no. What? So don't just draw the planes in here. What? How many times am I gonna close this? Don't draw the planes in here just because you know you're supposed to draw it, but actually think about how this plane is in space. You know what I'm saying? Like for example, if it's hit by a shadow, by light, and I'm not saying you should draw this, you should be thinking about this. If the light comes from here, this plane is gonna be in shadow, you know, and then there's another plane in here, you know, kind of going like that, and it's gonna be in shadow as well. So really think about when you're drawing, that's how you study, man. You study by thinking about things, you know, what happens if it hits, if the lightning hits it here, you know what I'm saying? That's why I've recommended my students to, you know, don't listen to podcasts, don't do all this weird shit while you're studying. Really focus on the painting and think about the things that you're doing. So that's for Christy. You're doing great, Christy. Keep it up. And then finally we have Rose, man. Last but not least, we have Rose. She sent me some of her practicing feet and hands. She's doing pretty good. I actually wanted to show you a couple of examples of how to draw hands, but I think I'm gonna do that next time because I really don't have any time now. But just a couple of things I wanted to mention. When you're drawing hands and feet, you really need to break it down into main form. So for example, the hand, you have the main form kind of being the palm of the hand, and then you have each finger. So what I see a lot of artists, and by the way, the best way to learn how to draw hands and feet is to look at other artists. For example, Loish has some of the best hands that I've seen in the whole art community, man. I swear, her hands are crazy good. Look at how good his hands are. And actually, what you notice in her work is she actually breaks down the fingers in two different, in only two places. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, a person's finger is gonna have three different. So he has one here, and one here. But what a lot of artists do, because it's way more aesthetic, is you actually break it down only in two. So you see the knuckle here, there's one in here, and then there's one here. And then there's a little bit of an edge over here on the top, but it's not really seen, you know what I'm saying? So when you actually connect the one on the front, you make it look a lot more, you know, again, aesthetic. So really the way to draw hands is you study other artists who are drawing hands, because they're so complicated. If you're only, you know, drawing from photos, you're gonna get kind of weirded out. So the secret about hands is breaking them down into different structures. So you have the palm, you have the wrist, which is gonna be, you know, different from the palm. You have the wrist, you have the palm, and then you have each finger with its structure. And the thing is, you really need curves to draw good hands. If you actually look at Loish, look at how much curves there are. You know what I'm saying? Like, it kind of goes in here, goes like that, then it comes out, then it goes in. The same with this hand, it kind of comes in here, then it look at this finger, how it kind of comes up, then it makes a dip, and then it kind of goes over again. You know what I'm saying? That's a lot of curves. If you actually look at what Rose did, I mean, she tried to do that, but look at how straight this finger is. You know, it's straight as hell. So if you actually, the thing about hands is really exaggeration. So if you actually exaggerated this finger, first of all, as I showed you, you can actually break it down into only two different structures instead of three, because the thing is, when you add three, it already looks kind of like it's like people were doing that. You know, it actually doesn't look like people have their fingers straight. It actually looks like they're doing that, you know, like the claw. So the thing is, you need curves, and then you need to break things down in only two different places. So you have the knuckle, you have the finger kind of going like that, and really exaggeration. You know, for example, this finger, you really could have exaggerated either going in like that, like going back, or you could have exaggerated to kind of go like that, but never draw fingers straight because they look really weird. What did you guys say? Yeah, learning is a hassle, but it's totally worth it. Totally. Yeah, I know, Total Magic. I'm just a bit of confused. Most of us are. Don't worry, bitch. I've been doing this shit 6 years. I wake up every single morning, I'm confused as fuck. But really, that's why I kind of wanted to talk about this, man. But about everything in art is because I feel like I taught myself some things, and I really wanted to share it with you how I did it. And I feel like you can do it as well, man. You just gotta be learning. You know what I'm saying? You shouldn't be just doing mindless fucking painting. Total Magic says most of what we learn is transferred to our muscle memory. Then we just start to draw what we learn. So in this theory, you don't use your brain when learning to draw. Uh, I don't know if that's right though. I mean, you're not using your brain once you become good. Like once, I'm not even thinking about portraits when I'm painting them. But back in the day, I needed to apply my brain when I was learning about portraits back in the day. When I was looking at Loish, for example, I was breaking down how she draws the eyes. I'm actually thinking, oh, like she has, the cheekbone kind of going in here. I'm actually thinking about it. I'm not just kind of going mindlessly and trying to repeat it. I'm actually paying attention, and I don't think you can actually learn to do anything. Even though that thing with the muscle memory is totally right, the thing is, when you're learning it, you still need to apply it. So anyway, just to kind of finish it with Rose, again, exaggeration, breaking things down in two different parts with the fingers. For example, you could have exaggerated the finger like that. Look at how much better that looks. You know what I'm saying? If you just exaggerate kind of going this way. And then just having everything with a curve. So we actually, you could have connected this. You actually kind of did that. Wait. You actually kind of did that. Another really useful thing for the fingers is to actually connect them. So when you're drawing them, actually you're gonna see a lot of artists, and I do that a lot. Let me find somewhere. So I'm actually always connecting a couple of fingers together so they look a lot more natural. And I learned that from Loish. And let me show you one of my favorite drawings by her. Yeah, oh my god, this one. Oh my god, look at these hands. That's hand porn right there. That's hand porn, man. So look at how she breaks down, again, only two parts, nothing is straight. It has a lot of curves, and it's just a beautiful style. Look at that as well. So look at how she pretty much just connects the two middle fingers, whatever they're called. She really connects them, and it looks a lot more natural, because if you have all the fingers separate, it kind of looks like a claw. You know what I'm saying? The thing is, when you connect them, it really looks, kind of more relaxed. Total Magic says, one question, Angel, what time is best for posting? EU time on Instagram. That's a good question. I don't know what's a good time, but I know what's a bad time. A bad time is to post in the morning, because when you post in the morning, Europe time, actually, a lot of people are sleeping, going to work, and then in the US, people are going to bed. So that's the worst time. So I feel like everything that's not the morning is pretty good. I usually post in the evening, kind of like around right now. I'm gonna post right after I finish the stream. So I usually post around 8 and 11 my time before going to bed. First of all, of practical reasons, because that's when I finish pretty much my artwork and I'm going to bed and I just want to post. But also I feel like it's a pretty good time to post, because Europe time, people are, kind of like finish their work, they're going to bed, they're checking Instagram. And then in the United States, it's it's like lunchtime or something, so people are like have the whole day to look at it. So again, I think the worst time is to post Europe time mornings. But again, I don't think there's like a really bad time to post, because there's always somebody awake. So I don't think it's gonna make much of a difference. But I feel like definitely post in the evenings. By the way, this work is crazy. I just seen it recently by Loish, man. Look at this. How can she be so good, man? I don't know. I really look at this shit, and I ask myself. Anyway, this is it for today, man. I feel like I've been rambling now. I hope this shit was useful, man. It was a kind of longer stream. Oh, holy shit, I have 8 people watching. Thank you so much, everybody. Oh, they just became 7. Thank you so much, everybody, man. I really appreciate you. I hope this was helpful. Again, I'm sorry if I'm kind of harsh on you. I know a lot of people, when you ask them for a critique, they usually say, and that's what I usually say on Instagram, by the way. Like when somebody asks me a critique on Instagram, I'm like, oh, you're doing great, you know. But in my mind, I'm like, you're not going anywhere. But really, man, I want to be here on because I feel like I you know, I feel like, you know, I'm responsible for you guys because you're paying me money on Patreon, and I really want to get you good. You know what I'm saying? Otherwise, I can lie to you all day, like, oh, you're doing great. You know, don't even worry about it. So that's why I feel like I'm way more negative. Is because, you know, critiques and negative opinions are a lot more useful than, you know, compliments and all this shit. Which doesn't mean you should stop complimenting me, because I have a big ego and I don't work well with critiques. Oh, you're welcome, Total Magic. See you, DJ, man. So thanks so much to everybody, man. I'm gonna be doing a live stream on Twitch next week, which I'm probably gonna be a lot more chill, and I don't know. I'm gonna be talking about my dick a lot more. So hit me up with questions. Hit me up with critiques. Again, angelganf6@gmail.com for critiques. DJ says, "Am I going somewhere?" No, you just wrote see you, so I told you see you right back. I don't know, it's getting late and I'm getting really tired. Thank you so much again, everybody, man. I'm gonna talk to you next week. Stay awesome. Keep working because there's pretty much nothing else to do but work. So I love you, and I'm gonna talk to you next time, man. Oh, peace.